Have you ever wondered what happens to your debts when you grow older? What if I told you that many seniors in their 60s and 70s spend sleepless nights worrying about bills they may not even have to pay? It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. In today's story, I'll take you through the experiences of two fictional characters, Robert and Mary, and how their journey uncovered the surprising truth about debt in later life. Along the way, we'll reveal 7 kinds of debts that seniors often think they must carry forever. But in reality, the law sometimes says otherwise. Pay attention, because number 4 may completely change how you look at money and aging. And if you find yourself nodding along to that point, type the number 4 in the comments below. Chapter 1. Robert's Sleepless Night. Robert was 69 years old. He had worked hard his whole life as a truck driver, raising 3 kids and paying off a modest home. But retirement brought a new kind of fear. He sat at the kitchen table late one night, staring at a pile of envelopes, credit card bills, medical invoices, a letter from a bank. He whispered to his wife, "Mary, what happens if I can't pay all this? Will the debt follow you? Will it follow the kids?" That fear isn't rare. Surveys show that nearly half of seniors over 65 carry some form of debt into retirement. And many don't know the difference between the debts they are legally required to pay and those they may be able to walk away from. That's why understanding the truth isn't just about money, it's about peace of mind. Debt number 1, medical bills after death. Robert remembered his heart stay after a heart scare. The bills reached into the tens of thousands. He panicked, imagining his children stuck with the payments. Here's the truth. In most cases, medical debt does not transfer to children. If a senior passes away, the debt is taken from their estate, whatever money or property remains. If the estate is small or empty, the medical provider often gets nothing. Practical tip: always check your state laws. And if you're alive and struggling with medical debt, hospitals often have financial assistance programs you can apply for. Don't suffer in silence. If this surprised you, type the number 1 in the comments. Debt number 2, credit card balances. Mary had a different fear. She had a credit card she used for groceries and emergencies. The balance wasn't huge, but she worried. If I pass away first, will Robert have to pay this? Here's what lawyers explain. Credit card debt, like medical bills, belongs to the estate of the person who dies. If the estate has no assets, the credit card company often has to write it off. The exception is joint accounts. If you're a co-signer, you are responsible. But being an authorized user is different. You don't carry the legal obligation. Practical tip: review your credit accounts today. Make sure you know whether you're a co-signer or just an authorized user. If you've ever worried about credit card balances, type 2 below. Debt number 3, private student loans. Robert chuckled when Mary reminded him of their son's college years. "We took out a private loan to help him. Are we stuck with it forever?" The good news: some private student loans are discharged if the borrower dies. The not-so-good news: rules vary. Federal student loans are automatically wiped away upon the borrower's death, but private lenders may handle it differently. Practical tip: if you're carrying student loans into retirement, call your lender. Ask about death discharge policies. It may bring comfort knowing your children won't inherit that burden. If this hits close to home, type the number 3 in the comments. Debt number 4, mortgage debt. This is the one that shocks most people. Mary worried every night about the house. If something happens to me, will they take our home? Mortgages are unique. If one spouse dies, the surviving spouse, who is a co-borrower, usually takes over the payments. But children are not automatically required to pay a parent's mortgage. Instead, they may choose to sell the home,
refinance, or walk away if the estate cannot cover it. Lawyers often remind families the bank doesn't want an empty house, they want payment. So they're usually willing to work with heirs. Practical tip: if you're over 60, consider discussing your mortgage with your family. Sometimes selling before it becomes a burden provides freedom in later years. If this surprised you, type 4 in the comments right now. Debt number 5, car loans. Robert smiled as he remembered his beloved old truck. "What about my car loan?" he asked. Car loans work much like mortgages. If the estate has money, the lender is paid. If not, the lender may repossess the vehicle. But again, children don't become personally responsible unless they co-signed. Practical tip: if you're worried about leaving behind car debt, keep insurance active. And remember, in many cases, the worst that happens is the lender takes back the vehicle. If you've ever wondered about this, type 5 below. Debt number 6, business loans. Mary once dreamed of opening a small shop, but she worried about the risks. Business loans can feel heavy, but here's what lawyers clarify. If the loan is under the business name and not personally guaranteed, your personal assets may be safe. If you personally guaranteed it, that's a different story. Practical tip: seniors who dabble in business should always clarify whether they're signing as individuals or as a business entity. It could be the difference between passing on a legacy or a liability. If this point speaks to you, type the number 6 in the comments.
Debt number 7, tax debt. This one scares almost everyone. The IRS never forgets, Robert sighed. It's true that tax debt is serious, but even here, the responsibility usually falls to the estate, not the children. If the estate doesn't have enough, the IRS may not collect beyond what exists. Surviving spouses, however, can sometimes remain responsible depending on how taxes were filed. Practical tip: if you owe taxes, don't ignore the problem. Payment plans and hardship programs exist, and knowing the difference between personal liability and estate liability can save a lot of worry. If this clears up confusion, type 7 in the comments. Chapter 2: From Fear to Freedom. Robert and Mary spent weeks learning about these debts. Each discovery lifted a little weight from their shoulders. They realized that while debt is real, fear is often larger than reality. The truth is, seniors often overestimate the burden they will leave behind. Children rarely inherit debt directly. Instead, debts are handled through the estate, and many obligations vanish if there's nothing left to claim. But the bigger lesson goes beyond money. Robert and Mary realized that living in constant fear robbed them of joy. They started spending more afternoons walking in the park, gardening, and visiting friends. Worry turned into wisdom. The bridge between debt and healthy aging. Why talk about debt in a channel about health and longevity? Because financial stress is one of the biggest silent killers. Stress raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, and accelerates aging. By understanding the truth, you give yourself permission to breathe easier, to focus on nutrition, light exercise, mental fitness, and relationships, to live your later years with clarity, not anxiety. Healthy aging isn't just about what you eat or how much you walk. It's about removing the invisible weights that drag you down. Final call to action? So let me ask you, which of these 7 debts was most surprising to you? Was it medical bills, credit cards, student loans, mortgages, car loans, business loans, or taxes? Pick one, just one, then type the number in the comments below. That single action turns your knowledge into commitment. And if you learned something new today, consider subscribing, because every week we share not just tips about aging and health, but also the hidden truths about life after 50 that nobody talks about. Remember Robert and Mary. They learned that debt does not have to define their final years, and neither should it define yours. Don't carry fear into your 70s. Carry wisdom, freedom, and the joy of knowing that your future is brighter than the papers on your kitchen table.